there, and welcome to this Knight's Guide to forming the Kingdom of Jerusalem and Ironman. This guide aims to show how to unlock the Kingdom of Jerusalem achievement while setting yourself up in a strong position for the later stages of the game. I'm Oscar Mike, and as always, thanks for watching. Alright folks, by way of introduction, let's discuss the opening. First thing I'm going to do is recruit 2 transport ships and roads, pick our mission, improve prestige, convert our faction leader into general, mothball fortifications, set our national focus into military, low army maintenance to 0, and on top of that I'm going to recruit 2 Latin medieval infantry units and roads. That's going to lower our manpower and give it the chance to recover now. I'm going to fabricate a claim in Achaia and later Moria, that's for Byzantines, improve relations with Venice. And as my heir I'm going to pick a local noble. That's going to boost my loyalty with the nobility up to 45%, get us on the way to that 60% threshold. It's also going to give us 10 prestige at the cost of a bit of devotion. Finally, I'm going to take my 2 transport ships, send them to patrol around the Constantinople trade node. I'm going to mothball the remainder of my fleet. And then I'm going to speed up time. So I've been wanting to make this guide for a while, and the goal is fairly simple. We're going to form the Kingdom of Jerusalem, hopefully within about 1 hour. So that's the aim here, an hour of continuous playthrough, and we're going to form the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Unlike my previous guides, certainly greater ambit for flexibility, which I'll endeavour to discuss as we forge ahead. Sufficient to say I think the Kingdom of Jerusalem, or the Crusader States as I like to call them, is certainly one of the more thematically and historically rich nations to play as, putting yourself directly between the Far Indus and Renaissance Europe. Sound fun? Well, it is if you can get there, and this guide will show you how to do this. We are going to form the Kingdom of Jerusalem in about 60 minutes, as I said. It's going to be a step-by-step guide, where I'll seek to fully utilise all the new features to minimise the need for luck and ensure the strategy can be executed well. So basically, I'm just biding my time. I'm fabricating claims in Achaia Moria, waiting for the troops we queued up at the start of the game to get built, and constantly being vigilant about the Byzantines, because the Ottomans will often declare war on the Byzantines very early, either in their first, second or third war. And once they do, it's incumbent upon us to immediately attack the Byzantines and aim to conquer Achaia and Moria. And we can do that very easily once the Ottomans declare war, so I'm just racing through time here. Pretty much know everything to expect, having significantly refined this guide. So we're just constantly keeping an eye on the Ottomans, waiting for them to attack the Byzantines, and when they do, we will attack and aim to secure those 2 provinces, which we're going to need later, because the first part of this guide is capitalising on the weakness of the Roman Empire. The second part will be building alliances with Venice, Genoa and Aragon. And the third part is going to be forcing a showdown with the Mamelukes, a war we're going to precipitate, and we're going to fight alone. We're going to aim to defeat the Mamelukes, conquer Cyprus and conquer the 3 provinces in Judea necessary to form the Kingdom of Jerusalem. We're going to aim to do that all on our own. So as you can see, it's the second war. The Ottomans have declared war on the Byzantines. I'll trigger a reaction from us. We're going to take 4,000 troops, put our king as the leader, end the mothball of our fleet, send it right out. Doesn't matter if our fleet is only in 25% strength from being mothballed, or our troops have low morale. It's imperative we get our troops landed in southern Greece as soon as possible. And that's going to ensure that we maintain control of the sieges of Achaia and Moria. Now you can see the Ottomans have got here first. That's perfectly fine though, they'll occupy Achaia. But what they often do is retreat and move into Athens. That's going to allow our army to move into Achaia once the fortification in Moria has recaptured it, which you can see is happening right now. Unfortunately, we lost 2 trade ships. Seems I forgot about them. That was kind of a blunder, because those trade ships are supposed to give you a lot of income over the course of the game. So we're going to have to do without them. We're not going to rebuild them. It's too expensive. So fortification of Moria is reoccupied Achaia, and we're going to move straight into it. Make sure we have at least 1 regiment to control the siege in Achaia. And to prevent the Ottomans from sieging down Moria, we are going to move the remainder of our troops into Moria, seek to stack wipe this small enemy army, so that we control both sieges. Now, it's important to stress at this point that this war can go very differently for you. For instance, we have control of those sieges, that's critical. But oftentimes, if the Ottomans prioritize sieging down Constantinople, and they do that before you can siege down Moria, they'll sue for peace, they'll annex Constantinople, they'll acquire Athens. So that means it'll just be you at war with the Byzantines fighting against Achaia and Moria, and unfortunately, that'll automatically force a de facto capital shift to Moria. That'll boost its fort level up from 2, which it is currently, to 3, and that will require 9,000 troops to siege it down. So we're basically sort of in a race against time here. We want to siege down Moria first, before the Ottomans can siege down Constantinople. And that's all with the aim of ensuring that we don't have to... If the Ottomans were able to siege down Constantinople before us, we would need 9,000 troops in total to successfully siege down Moria. So that would require us going over our force limits, recruiting another couple infantry units from Rhodes, which is expensive, will require us to take out loans, and on top of that it would just slow down the progression. So hopefully we can siege down Moria with our 7,000 troops before they can siege down Constantinople. It's important to stress though that although if the Ottomans are successful in suing for peace with Byzantines first, whilst you're still sieging down Moria, it's not fatal to the guide. You just have to take a couple extra loans, recruit either mercenaries or medieval infantry units from Rhodes, ferry them over to Moria, and complete the siege with your 9,000 troops. So it's by no means fatal. It's just optimal if we get this siege completed first. Also, obviously, it's optimal that when you do declare war on the Byzantines, you remember you have 2 trade ships in the Constantinople trade node, and hopefully you'll return that fleet home without losing it, because those trade ships will generate a heck of a lot of money over the course of this strategy. On the plus side, by losing the trade ships, that frees up 2 more ships that we can build later on, which will undoubtedly be building galleys. So thankfully we complete the siege of Moria first. Now we're not going to sue for peace with Byzantines just yet, because you can see we have very low war score, which doesn't really get us anything. I'm just taking a look here, seeing how much they'll accept. So we can get the 2 provinces we want, and we can get a little bit of money. But we're going to hold off on that for now, because there's something even better you can get. So we'll wait for the Ottomans to sue for peace with Byzantines, and hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later. In the meantime, low army maintenance, mothball our fleet, mothball our fortifications, save as much money as you can, because we're going to need a lot of money to perform this strategy. Alright, there you go. Guide is extremely fast paced, obviously, at this point in the game. I'm rushing through this as fast as possible for the sake of brevity. So, the Ottomans have conquered Byzantium. Now we have 100% war score because we occupy all their provinces. You see here, Moria is currently of the Orthodox religion. So although we can't get any extra money from the Byzantines, what we can do is get them to force religion, which we're going to do. See that in the peace treaty? Send demands. And that just has the effect of converting Moria to a Catholic province, whereas before it was Orthodox. And we're going to core those provinces. That's going to boost our religious unity a little bit, lowering our overall revolt risk. And it's just, you can see our religious unity is actually 64% now. So it's just a little thing you can do to help with the overall revolt risk of your faction. So we've completed our first war. It's only been 9 minutes, and we've already conquered 2 provinces. Now be mindful of the fact that the Ottomans do oftentimes get a mission, conquer southern Greece, and that's going to be a problem. It's why it's going to necessitate us forming an alliance with some strong powers, which we're going to do. So I see here we have a decision, forgery of documents. We'll take the 50 administrative power, I think. Yep, we'll go ahead and take that. And we're just basically speeding along, waiting for those provinces to core. Now, what we're going to do, as is common with all my starting guides, is to maximize the effectiveness of the strategy. We're going to take our administrative monarch power and our diplomatic monarch power, and we're going to go ahead and fire that into boosting our development of our capital roads. That's going to increase our income, boost our total land force limits modifier, and boost our total naval force limits modifier. So it's going to increase our income, allow us to field more troops at lower cost, allow us to field a larger navy. And bearing in mind that as this guide, we're going to be fighting alone, waging our own war, forcing our own showdown with the Mamelukes. We're going to need as big a navy and army as we can get. Obviously, important to reiterate that it's certainly desirable to have your national focus into the military idea group. And we're just waiting for these provinces to core. We will have to boost the autonomy in Achaea and Moria respectively. That's going to keep the revolt risk down. We certainly don't want to be dealing with any revolts at this stage. Have a decision here. Just pick whatever decision. So again, all ships are mothballed, army maintenance at 0, all fortifications mothballed. Aim to boost our treasury as much as possible. Increase our cash reserves for the eventual showdown. And we're, right now, having completed this war successfully, for the time being, we're spending all our development boosting the base tax and base production in roads. And get that as high as we possibly can. We'll not focus on boosting base production and tax in our newly conquered provinces because of the high autonomy, but we will later on as the development cost becomes much higher in roads. Don't bother with any advisors, and don't bother with any decisions. As 1450 already, we're just flying through time. You can see, having maxed out our relations with Venice, we're now seeking to improve relations with Aragon and Austria. And there's those provinces cored. We're not going to convert, we're not going to force convert them. But that's fine. Just biding our time. The next course of action we're going to seek to take is by boosting our total development level and increasing our total army size and navy, which we're going to start doing very shortly. That's going to put us to the stage where we can form an alliance with Venice. And that's something we desperately want, because without it, we're pretty much at the mercy of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans chose to attack us at this stage. We wouldn't stand a chance. Incidentally, you may wish to delete the fortification in Moria. That will save you a lot of money. I'm increasing autonomy now, get that revolt risk down. You can delete the fortification in Moria, but I prefer to keep it, because I think that it's going to help us over the long term. It's going to safeguard both those provinces for now. So we started our galley production, producing 2 galleys, spending all our monarch points and boosting base tax and base production. And we're going to need to do this. We're playing tall, basically. We've done all the expansion we need to do. Not fulfilling our overall... Okay, so our need a new heir because our king died. We'll go ahead and we'll pick another local noble. That's going to boost our prestige, which is good since we have the mission. And with the decision, with the interaction in the nobility tab, we're going to be able to get our total loyalty level to 60%. And next we're going to add Achaea's an estate. So Achaea doesn't start off with an estate, Moria does. We have an option between clergy and the bourgeoisie. Now we can choose either one. I'm going to go with the extra trade efficiency and development. So that pushes us above the 60% loyalty threshold. So from the point of view of playing tall, we're basically min-maxing at the moment. We're doing everything by the book. increasing our development. We started increasing our development in Achaia and Moria now that the cost of increasing development in Rhodes is becoming prohibitive. We've got 2 of our states already above 60% loyalty with low influence, and you can see we're just building as many galleys as we can, keeping our army at the same size. But as you increase your total fleet size, your total army size, and your total development, that's going to put us in the position where we can form an alliance with Venice. Alright, we're just still racing through time here, slowly building up our strength of our nation through growing tall, that is, seeking to highly develop the provinces we've conquered, because really, in terms of expanding aggressively, aside from expanding into the former Roman Empire, we don't really have many choices. We can hardly fight with the Ottomans, we're not strong enough to contend with the likes of Venice or Genoa, and certainly not the Mamelukes at this stage. So what we have to do is we go tall. I'm just going to convert my leaders into generals. Now that's fairly lucky. 2 4-shot generals, both with high fire. That's helpful, but not at all necessary, so don't worry if you don't have a general nearly as that good. As long as you have maybe 1 shock and 1 fire, you're going to be fine. I'd hate to try the strategy with a 0 fire, 0 shock general. Border friction, we'll go ahead and take the negative relations hit with Cyprus. So we're just spending all the time here, boosting relations. We've got our provinces cord. And we're ploughing all of our administrative monarch points into boosting our base tax and roads. That increases our income by 0.11 ducats per month. And we're also boosting our base production in Moria and Achaia. Now Venice has offered us an alliance. Okay, great. First phase completed, it's 1453 and we have that alliance with Venice. That's absolutely critical because that's going to protect us from the Ottomans and any other would-be power that is designs against our territory. Now, why did Venice offer an alliance now? Well, first off, we have historical friend bonus with them that boosts relations by 25. But the main so I'm just boosting my military tech level because I was reaching the max military monarch point power. Don't want to hit that cap. So Venice, there they are revoking our guarantees. So Venice likes to ally us now, and part of the reason why is we're increasing the size of our fleet and we haven't increased the size of our army yet, but we're certainly becoming quite a powerful little nation. And now that we've reached that point, Venice will offer us alliance. Venice will offer you alliance. If you're doing this guide exactly the same as I am, it's inevitable. It happens every single time. You will never have a problem. They will offer the alliance with you, or you can do it the same with them, but what you need is their relations with you to become friendly. And it seems like that happens when you reach a certain threshold in terms of... I think it's both tied in with development and your total fleet size and also army size. You take all these things into consideration when basically offering alliances. So having done that, we're feeling a lot more secure. We're still just slowly building up our fleet, keeping our army at the same size for now, and seeking to repay what loans we can. So another decision, we'll take the mercantilism. Obviously that's not going to really help us for the purpose of this guide, but mercantilism's always something that's very strong over the course of a whole playthrough. We choose not to destroy our fortification in Moria. I discussed that earlier. It will save you a lot of money, but I want to keep that fortification. We're really going to be stuck if something bad happens. Normally, when curveballs are thrown into guys like these, I can sort of deal with them. The only thing I can't deal with is the Ottomans declaring war on me. So we're going to keep that fortification, and we're going to try and keep ourselves in a position where we have at least a reasonably sized land army of 7,000 troops, which we do have for the moment. And yeah, we're just biding time. We're waiting for our treasury to slowly build up, and once it does, we go ahead, straight ahead, build the galleys. And we have 10 galleys now. We're going to need a lot more. All the while boosting our relations with Aragon, and later on we're going to boost relations with Genoa. Genoa has a very strong fleet, that's why we want them as allies. Same with Venice. if the Ottomans declare war on us, provided we have the help of Venetians and Genoese, you can actually defeat them navally, which would obviously be probably fatal to any aspirations for forming the Kingdom of Jerusalem, but at least it can protect your capital. So that's why we're doing that for now. Now we're just biding our time, getting those galleys built. Later on we'll take loans, but so how are we going to defeat the Mamelukes? In order to form the Kingdom of Jerusalem, you need 3 provinces, and I forget their names, but they're in the description. And basically, it's the province of Jerusalem, which is a landlocked province, and it's 2 western provinces that are both coastal. And you see, I'm still ploughing all my administrative and diplomatic monarch points into boosting up base production in Achaia and Morea, base taxes and roads, base production in roads as well, and a little bit of increased base tax production in Morea and Achaia. All the while keeping an eye on the Ottomans. I will become slightly agitated if they accept the mission, conquer southern Greece. Bearing in mind that the Ottomans will have designs upon you. They often like to take roads. They certainly like southern Greece. But if we're all the while concentrating and building up this network of alliances. So we have another decision here. Court painter available. We'll take that. +1 stability. That brings us to +2. Still not at the stage where we can hope to convert our provinces. We'll worry about that later on. Don't want to have to spend much money. Obviously, converting provinces requires you to have an active missionary, and missionaries cost quite a bit of maintenance. Not as much as colonists, I think, but certainly a lot, so we don't want to do any of that now. Obviously, part of the reason why we're able to afford constantly expanding our fleet is because we have boosted our development levels up so high. It's really propelled our income forward, and that's a good thing. So, how are we going to defeat the Mamelukes? Well, forget about defeating them on land, that's not possible. But there is a trick you can do that's going to allow us to occupy the provinces we need. The one major land battle we have to win is the amphibious land invasion of Cyprus. Now, bearing in mind Cyprus usually has about 7,000 troops. That seems to be their max force limits modifier, which they max out on. And that means we're going to be having to launch an amphibious landing against Cyprus, taking a -3 modifier, I think, for both an amphibious landing and defensive terrain, against 7,000 troops with a general. So we are going to need an army. It's going to need to be a good army. Part of the reason why my national focus is military is because that's going to give us the tech level advantage we need to win that battle comfortably. And I would always aim to invade with about 9,000 troops, so that if you get absolutely apocalyptically bad rules, you're still going to prevail in the end. If you choose to do it with less, it'll probably still work out, but bearing in mind that if you lose that land battle, it's going to be pretty devastating. Now, to get to the point where you can invade Cyprus, we're going to have to totally defeat the Mameluke and Cyprus fleets. Now, the Mamelukes have a large fleet, but incidentally, they seem to not build many galleys. They're not like the Ottomans. They only build a few galleys. I think they only have about a max of 7. That's the Mamelukes. Cyprus has some, but for the most part, the Mamelukes build trade ships and transport ships, which is good for us, because that means we're only going to need to build about 15 galleys to be safe in order to totally defeat the Mameluke fleet. Alright, so you can see our fleet has expanded quite a bit. I've recruited additional infantry units, something I should have done a lot earlier. I've transported my overall army to Rhodes. That will ensure that if something very bad happens, my army can't be immediately attacked. I'm going to keep my army in Rhodes for the meantime. So let's take a look at the total fleet size for Mamelukes. Yeah, there you go. 5 light ships, 8 galleys, 12 transport ships. So you see the huge disparity. They have almost as much transport ships as they have galleys and trade ships. Don't know why it is the Mamelukes are like that. The Ottomans are total reverse. The Ottomans love galleys. They build galleys and nothing else. Part of the reason why it's so hard to defeat them navally is the Byzantines. The Mamelukes are totally different. 8 galleys is nothing. We already could probably defeat that fleet. We're not going to take any chances, bearing in mind that Mamelukes will have allies often. So we're going to seek to go well above our total naval force limits, building a huge galley fleet. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this in stages. We focus on the galleys now, declare war on Cyprus. And then subsequently what we do is we start building transports later on, and then launch the amphibious landing in Cyprus really quite a while after having won the major naval battles. So I hope you're keeping up more or less with where I am at the moment. Again, we've using all our diplomatic and monarch power into boosting base production. You can see some of the levels here, take note of it. Boosting base production mostly in Achaia and Moria, and focusing on base attacks and roads. We're already at 19 development, and we're still building galleys. We've got 3 on the way, and we're starting to take loans now because we're getting to a stage where we really need to have to close out this war with the Mamelukes. Maxing out our relations with Venice. And just sort of biding our time. Obviously keeping all maintenance low are going to allow us to expand our fleet. Having boosted so much development, that's pushed our land and naval force limits way up. Allows us to comfortably field larger armies and fleets. Obviously, however, you still do have to go way over your total force limits in terms of your fleet for this strategy to work. Aside from that, we're just waiting, you know, we've got our speed up to 5 times normal speed. Taking a look at, we have a diplomatic reputation advisor, which we might be able to use later on if we get high relations with Aragon. Again, I think already boosting our military tech level there. I think I already mentioned the reason why we want to ally with Aragon and Genoa and Venice is because they have large fleets. Very large fleets is going to allow us to defeat navally any other faction if we become attacked. And we're going to recruit an admiral. Also, incidentally, you notice that out of the 3 troop choices, longbowmen, men-at-arms, and I believe it's pronounced Galociac infantry. I know it's a sort of Celtic name. I choose Galociac infantry, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And the reason why is because they have such powerful offensive shock. So if you've got good shock values, they can really destroy enemy armies very quickly. I don't think they're as good over like a multi-turn direct battle. I think that the high morale of other infantry bests them in such situations, but if you want to win a battle quickly, Galociac infantry all the way. Very high shock values. So we are now rebuilding our fleet. We've got 1 more galley on the way. We have in total 22 ships. You can see our huge development levels. We're going to build our army up to about 9,000. We only have 6 transport ships. That doesn't matter. Our focus at the start of this war is going to be utilising our massive galley fleet and totally wiping out the enemy navy. Focusing on naval superiority. And then we'll if we lose ships, we won't replenish them, and we might even go below our total naval force limit, save some money, and then start focusing on building up a large transport fleet. Because that is going to allow us to launch a successful amphibious landing over Cyprus. Certainly would not want to lose that battle. So I'm going to boost base production in roads yet again. 22 ships now. Now we keep our army maintenance and forts still mothballed at this stage because, like I said, 2 stages of this war. The naval focus on naval superiority. Once you've totally crushed the enemy fleet, then we'll worry about our troop dispositions and our morale and our fortifications and things like that. So we're going to hunt down this fleet, this Mameluke fleet. See if we can catch it, keeping an eye on what coastal provinces is due to arrive on, so unfortunately I sort of messed up a little bit there, but no matter. This is what I always do before you declare war. You search out the enemy trade ships and make sure on the day that you declare war, your fleet happens to be occupying the same fleet as the same tile as their fleet. That'll allow you to get an early victory, shutting down their trade ships, which will allow us basically to win without any issues with our 16 galleys and 7 transport ships. Now, obviously I lost my trade ships at the start of this guide, which really harmed my economy, but it allowed me to buy 2 extra galleys in its stead. So let's declare war. We declare war on Cyprus. We have a claim fabricated there, and you can see we isolate the 5 Mamluk trade ships, and they reinforce. It was a big mistake on their part, so we're fighting 8 ships. We manually choose to override the mothball fortifications, so fortifications now, on default, go back to full maintenance when you declare war. We go ahead and mothball, and we don't need our forts or army for the meantime, so we wipe out that fleet. 8 ships destroyed. We're just sailing around sort of the Palestinian coast. We're going to isolate these, try and destroy the Cyprus navy. It's 3 galleys and 2 transport ships, all the aim. You see the Egyptians still have 20 ships, so we're just focusing on sailing around, isolating these small fleets, destroying them one by one. Isolate, destroy, keeping our forces combined. And we're going to be able to destroy this Cyprus fleet. Now you can see they have the ally of Adana, I believe that is. They have some ships as well, but we've already won 2 naval battles, and for the most part the naval war has been won. We basically have naval superiority. There are a few tricks we can do to force the Mamluk army out from its port, which we'll do later on, but I'm sufficiently content, aiming to have this guide completed reasonably quickly. So I'm going to start building the transport ships now that I've won the naval battles. The reason I do that now is in case I lost any ships, that will bring me below the force limits, or not below the force limits, but reduce the burden of my fleet maintenance and allow us to replace, say, destroyed galleys with transport ships. So we see a fleet from Ramazan, that is, not Adana, that's the capital. We'll see if we can isolate it and destroy it. It's 4 galleys and 1 transport. And yep, we're going to be able to do that. Another 5 ships destroyed. We actually capture a transport ship, which is really nice. That's another plus. That saves us from build. That's going to push us up to 9 transport ships in total once we get this final one built in Rhodes. And you can see the Egyptian fleet is sailing about. They basically elected to go on a suicide mission. They think that somehow blockading the province of Kir for, not even a month is sufficiently important that they sacrifice their entire fleet to do it. So, really taking advantage of the poor naval AI. We're going to win this battle easily. We did recruit that admiral. Always recruit an admiral, to be honest, if you're relying upon a naval strategy. You don't need diplomatic, monarch, and administrative power in the early part of the game. Only need administrative power for coring. Military power is obviously critical, so we destroy that fleet. Don't need any diplomatic power at all. Totally worthless for the meantime. So we capture another transport ship. That's great. That's going to allow us to stop recruiting the additional transport ship we were recruiting in Rhodes. Now I make sure my army's correct. I switch from Latin cavalry to chevauchés because chevauchés are a lot stronger. I mean, they just started. Better cavalry, better shock values, allow you to win battles quicker. Yeah, that fleet's almost been completely destroyed, so we're now focusing on the second stage of this war. We are going to launch an amphibious landing in Cyprus. The third stage is a bit more fidgety, certainly more high risk, with a lot more variables, but I'm going to show you how to do it, and that's going to allow you to conquer some Egyptian provinces. So we find another enemy fleet, 3 transport ships. Don't know what we were doing, but we go ahead, attack, and destroy them. Now we have 10,000 troops at all, and we have a 4-shot general with free fire. I'm not taking any chances as regards to this amphibious landing in Cyprus. I want to win this battle. I'm not going to be content suffering a defeat and having to do this again. Obviously this is way overkill, but we're already about 40 minutes into this guide. And I don't want to suffer any major setback now, so we go with the overkill approach, take a few loans. We're going to have 11,000 troops against 7,000. We will have a -3 modifier to an amphibious landing and attacking defensive terrain. Obviously, I'm extra comfortable because I have a 4-shot general. If you didn't have a 4-shot general, and depending on the skill of Cyprus's general, bearing in mind I did do one of these guides once when Cyprus had a 6-shot general. Now they don't have that this time, they only have 2 fire. So we're going to go ahead, we have 11 transport ships, 11,000 troops, only a couple cavalry, mostly infantry, and we're going to attack. With 2 cavalry units, so we suffer a -3 penalty, but because we're 2 tech levels ahead of them from having our military as a national focus, easy victory. Won comfortably, only 1,700 troop losses. And now I'm just going to focus on blockading the enemy coastal provinces. All the while sieging down Cyprus, I'm going to consolidate my regiments in Cyprus because we no longer need a large army. That was the sole reason why we wanted a large army. Make sure we won that battle, which we did comfortably. For the 3rd stage, which is getting the provinces we need to core to form the Kingdom of Jerusalem, we will need troops, but we'll only need about 6,000 or 8,000. I'm going to show you how to do that later on, but for now, focusing on this siege. So we've consolidated regiments. We've got a depleted regiment of 202 troops. That's a very expensive regiment to maintain because we're over our total land force limits. So we'll go ahead and disband that. And we will not disband our entire fleet, which I almost did. Of course, you can't disband troops when they're in enemy provinces or about to be attacked or in a coastal region. So I successfully avoid disbanding my entire fleet. Instead, I disband that 202 troops. And that means we're only 1 regiment above our total land force limits. Still going to keep a large fleet though. Now, we're allied with Venice. Venice, of course, won't join you in this offensive war because we would never be able to accrue sufficient favours with them. So we're doing all the stuff ourselves. And luckily, we happen to breach the fortifications in Cyprus. That's going to help speed up the siege dramatically. And just moving a few fleets around for the meantime. I really want to try and lower our total fleet size now. We don't need so many ships, we're not going to use them all. We're just bleeding money. I'd rather keep as many ducats as I can. So, let's see here, how many ships do I need? I probably need about 8, so I'm going to keep them for now. Now, the advantage of declaring war in Cyprus and not the Mamelukes is we'll gain ticking war score from the occupation of their capital. So yeah, I am disbanding a few transport ships, bring us below the total force limits. I just want enough ships to totally blockade the Palestinian coast region. Can't ally with Aragon yet. We'll keep an eye on them for the time being. Improve relations. Suffer -1 stability hit. That's fine. You can see the Mamelukes still have a large army. And we're not going to fight the Mamelukes in 2 wars and hope to wear them down. We don't have time for that. So we're going to accomplish all our goals in this war. And once we siege down Cyprus, because that's the war goal, it's going to give us ticking war score. It'll eventually boost our total war score to 100%, because it's the goal. So provided we, I think it takes 5 years or something. Can't quite recall exactly, but there we go. That's going to give us a ticking war score. Also allows us to destroy their fleet that was harboured there. Yeah, we have Cyprus. We're not done yet. Still got plenty of things to do before we can truly form the Kingdom of Jerusalem. We have a ticking war score, which is really helpful. We'll gain income from the occupied province, which is also handy. And just keeping with the theme that try and keep that Palestinian coast region blockaded. And biding our time. Oftentimes, if you're fighting an offensive war with the Mamelukes and they are starting to accrue high war exhaustion, the fact that we've destroyed their fleet's very useful because that's going to incentivize the Ottomans to attack the Mamelukes. Now we're going to try something here. I see 4,000 troops in Adana. I'm going to see if I can attack them before the Mamelukes have time to reinforce. Here's a decision here, urbanization. I think this is the first time I've seen this decision. Go ahead and take the one base tax nick here. So we have total military tech superiority. Now the Mamelukes, so we found the Mameluke army. They have 18,000 troops. We're just going to retreat. Inflicted 2,000 casualties, suffered 954. The reason I tried to execute that as attack is I thought it would give us the opportunity to acquire some war score, but unfortunately it didn't go as planned. At least now we know where the Mamelukes army is though. So they have two armies, one 18,000 man army in the north and a 17,000 man army that is in just next to Jerusalem. So you can see here, I'm taking a look at the war score. The fact that we had totally destroyed the Ottoman fleet, that they're accumulating war exhaustion, that we have their coastal provinces blockaded. What that will do is that will wear down their total overall strength, and that will, as I said, incentivize the Ottomans to attack the Mamelukes, which is, you know, what they do have a mission to conquer the Levant. And they do prioritize conquering that area very early on. So it's not at all uncommon that you can see the Ottomans declare war on the Mamelukes. It's not going to be essential for the strategy, but if it happens, it helps. Just keeping our blockades up and buying a little bit of time. What are we waiting for? Well, we want 100% war score now. And once we get 100% war score, we're not going to end the war immediately. And you'll see why in a moment. Now they are starting to rebuild their fleet. That's fine, that just gives us another opportunity to destroy their fleets. You can see how many ships they're building now. I think they are building galleys. That's no problem at all. We're going to be able to deal with that easily by using a few little tricks. When we're executing the final phase of a strategy, suffice to say we are going to want to make sure we have total naval superiority once again. Don't want any of our transport ships to be attacked. That would be pretty disastrous. Taking a look here, seeing if any of my alliances are paying off. In my experience, it is extremely difficult allying with Austria and Hungary, especially after securing that alliance with the Venetians. That already allied one major world power. Power modifiers fairly significant. You can see it there. Knights already is a powerful ally, minus 25. That's fine, just biding our time. Waiting for us to get up to accrue that 100% war score. We're not doing bad so far. Starting off as a one island nation, we're doing all right against the combined Mameluke army. So as you can see there, I was about to cap out on military monarch power. So rather than waste it in tech now with a 30% ahead of time penalty, I figure why not spend it in boosting the total development of roads. Looks like we're still going to have to wait a good deal more time before we can get that 100% war score. So Venice, despite launching an offensive war against the Mamelukes, obviously they don't join us. However, they give us subsidies, which is going to be really helpful. And we're going to disband a couple ships. We're currently 22 out of 15 over the force limit. And we're actually making money again, which is handy. We've got army maintenance in 0, all forts mothballed. And coupled with the here's another decision, we'll take the administrative part. Coupled with the subsidies that Venice has generously given us, we're going to be making lots of money. So we've gone from 30% ahead of time to 20% ahead of time. So I say, well, why not? Let's take the extra military tech level. That's going to put us at a huge advantage when fighting any land battles. Now, so what I do is I retreat my fleet from the Palestinian coast into the Bay of Alexandria. For some reason, that always triggers the enemy fleet to just sort of scatter and sail about the place, and so we're just going to mop them all up here. Winning 2 naval battles, totally destroying their fleet with ease, and they're going to send out more ships. And they're just going to keep sending out these ships, sort of sailing around. The VA have been doing this since EU4 was released. It's very easy to do. You see that they have ships scattered in their ports as they're trying to reinforce. You just exit the tile where they occupy. They'll send out their fleets. You sail around, mopping them up, and oftentimes they'll try and coalesce all their ships in a single province. And again, you just attack that naval tile and destroy them. Sadly, we did lose our admiral, though. But it is of no consequence. We've pretty much finished off the Egyptian fleet. And that's going to put them in a very bad position in relation to the Ottomans. We still haven't accrued that 100% war score. Still only at war with the Knights. Could probably afford to speed up a little bit here. I'm just taking my time, ensuring that having got this far we don't make any mistakes. So the 100% war score is going to be accomplished relatively soon. So we're going to execute the final phase of the strategy. Probably shouldn't say final stage. The real final stage is getting alliances with Genoa and Aragon, but this is a penultimate stage. I'm going to keep an eye on the Mamluk army. I'm going to take 2 infantry units for now. I'm going to try and move the Mamluks out of position. So we'll sail our 2,000 infantry regiments with a leader who has maneuverability so that he can execute these raids quicker. And we're going to send him into Badia, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Hopefully that's just going to pull the Mamelukes out of position. In order for us to execute the strategy, we need to know exactly where the Ottoman army is. Bearing in mind that they do have allies, so I keep calling them the Ottoman army. I mean the Mamelukes. Need to know where they are. And we're also going to have the opportunity to raid some of these provinces. Picking, obviously, only takes a month to occupying, and picking provinces where there isn't a neighbouring fortification. Now we're at the 100% war score finally, and we've timed that perfectly because the Mamluk army is now heading south to intercept us. Now here's the goals. We need Nablus, Gaza and Al-Quds. So we're going to move our army again into Tirana, just seeking to occupy these provinces. We're going to need to split up our transport ships into several fleets. And you see how we're going to pull this off. It'll all make sense in a moment. This is by far the most complicated part of the guide from the point of view of execution, but it does work. It works extremely well. It's going to save you a lot of time if you pull it off well. It is high risk, but it's only high risk if you're not keeping an eye on the Mamluk army, and we can see them moving south. We know exactly where they're going. They're going to interdict our army that is occupy one of their southern provinces. Now we see all their troops. Got one army in Egypt, another heading south through the Levant, with a final army as one of their allies. So we're going to extricate our troops, not let them get attacked. And we're going to transport 2,000 troops into Judea. Into Nablus. I believe that's how you pronounce it. So both the Mamluk armies are in the south, chasing our troops. Unfortunately for us, the Mamluks do not have a fortification in any of the 3 provinces we're coveting. We opt to pay alone. We do have, because we have 100% war score, we're starting to accumulate a lot of extra war exhaustion from calls for peace, but that's fine. We don't expect to fight many other battles. So we're sending, you can see here, we've got 4 fleets of 2 transports each with 2,000 regiments in them. And we're pulling the Mamluk army out of position and using that as an opportunity to occupy the provinces of Nablus, Gaza and Al-Quds. Now, unfortunately, it seems we extricated our army from Libya a little too quickly. And they're already returning since they've reoccupied the province in Libya. So it looks like we're going to have to retreat for now and try and do this again. Don't want to take any chances, would rather not lose these troops. So we'll move them back into the occupied province, select them to attach the fleet, and easily be able to extricate them. Not execute them, extricate them. Don't want to execute these troops. Not yet, they're doing good jobs for us. And obviously the reason why we have at least a single ship in every coastal tile is that gives us scouting information. We can see exactly where all their armies are, and they have 3 armies to worry about. So we're going to transport some of our ships back to Libya, see if we can try this again. This time we'll pick a province even further to the west. All with the view of manoeuvring them out of position. And one of the advantages of doing that, by extending the war, we increase the chance that the Ottomans attack the Egyptians, the Mamluks. And incidentally, I actually think the Ottomans have just declared war on the Mamluks based on the fact that they're now blockading them. Yep, they have indeed. So that's going to help us a lot. It's not necessary though. The fact that they're doing this is purely... It wouldn't speed up a so-done strategy at all. All we need to do is get the Mamluk army out of position. That's all we need to achieve. And you can see that we can do that without the Ottomans. But if the Ottomans attack the Mamluks, well, all the better. We'll have to deal with the Ottomans later on. Well, that'll be another video for another day. This is purely focused on restoring the Kingdom of Jerusalem. With the view of having us in an extremely strong position. So it's not sort of a cheese strategy. We're gonna be fairly powerful once we pull this off. All with the view of ensuring that if you want to replicate this strategy and do a playthrough with the Kingdom of Jerusalem, you can achieve it very quickly and you can set yourself up strongly. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Kingdom of Jerusalem is some of the strongest idea groups in the game. National ideas, that is. It'll also give you the achievement, Kingdom of Jerusalem, which is another highly coveted achievement. So this is also a perfect strategy for achievement. Well, so you see what I'm doing here? I need 4 armies, each consisting of 2,000 troops for 8,000 in total, in 4 fleets of 2 transport ships each. Now, 3 of those armies in the 3 fleets will occupy simultaneously Gaza, Nablus and Al-Quds. And the final 2,000 troops that I've already launched into Libya are just going to pull the Egyptians out of position. Now, thankfully, the Ottomans have declared war on the Egyptians, so this actually makes this execution even easier. If they hadn't, and if that's how it's going in your playthrough, all you have to do is send that 2,000 troops into Libya. That'll force the entire Mamluk army south to intercept it. And when they do that, you just launch an amphibious landing of Judea, seeking to occupy these 2 provinces with your 3 armies very quickly. And then, as soon as you do that, you sue for peace. It's as simple as that. You may be able to pull this off even better than I do. Yeah, that's another province occupied. So unfortunately, the Mamluks are occupying an inland province. As they've lost a few battles to the Ottomans. Probably the Ottomans declaring war actually makes this strategy a little harder because we've lost track of the Mamluk army. But it's perfectly fine. Continue to occupy these provinces. All we're looking for now is we need to get a bit of vision in the Mamluk army. Okay, so there's one army. We also know the 2nd army just retreated into Egypt. So that gives us a window to pull this off. Don't execute the strategy into the blind. Make sure you have good reconnaissance. You know exactly where all the enemy troops are. Off right now, here comes another army. So we're going to abort that amphibious landing and wait. You've got track of both armies now. They're both moving up north, probably to combat the Ottomans. So we'll just let them. If the Ottomans weren't at war, they'd be in Libya and we'd just be doing the same thing I showed earlier. Really handy that the Ottomans don't, the Mamluks don't have a fortification in Jerusalem. Would make this strategy so much harder. Thankfully they don't. Occupy Alexandria. Launching amphibious landing now with 3 armies consisting of 2,000 troops each with a leader to improve their overall maneuverability. So if something goes wrong, we can get them out of there fairly quick. Let's see if we can pull this off quickly. Why do we need 2,000 troops instead of 1,000? Well, I believe if you have under 1,000, if you suffer attrition, you can actually occupy the province. That's why we go with 2 regiments each. We occupy them successfully. We have 100% war score. Now Al-Quds will be enabled to us once we take the surrounding provinces of Gaza. Now, bearing in mind the fact that that means we're not going to be able to immediately core Jerusalem because it doesn't border any of our currently core provinces. But that's fine. Just have to wait a little bit. So, just to demonstrate, re-establish Kingdom Jerusalem. We need these 3 provinces. And we need to be at peace. So let's send demands. There we go. War with the Mamluks won. We conquered both Cyprus, Gaza, Nablus, I believe it is, and Jerusalem. And we're going to core 3 of those provinces now. Also very important to note that you want to stop boosting your base production as soon as you declare war for Mamluks and save that monarch power for coring these provinces. Also, one of the advantages of this is we're fairly well off now. Now, Genoa, we hired diplomatic reputation advisor. Because we've accumulated such extra strength, we're now sort of in parity with them in terms of our fleet and army. So with the diplomatic reputation advisor, that pushes us over the threshold, allows us to form an alliance with Genoa. And the conquest of Jerusalem has happened to us. Extra prestige, which is always nice. We're going to have to wait a little while to call either Gaza or Nablus. And yeah, just basically want to mothball my fleet again, low army maintenance, mothball fortifications. I am prepared to spend military monarch points for harsh maintenance to keep the revolt risk in Jerusalem down, or Judea down. I believe that's the area. We're making money again, which is good, allow us to pay off some of our loans. In addition, the Ottomans are obviously beating up the Mamelukes, so that's going to make it even easier for future conquest, which is really the second tenet of this guide. We want to be sufficiently powerful at the end of this video so that you can basically expand in any direction you want. We must have captured a couple trade ships in that war. I didn't notice, so we'll go ahead and send them to trade in the Constantinople trade node. Do have fairly high revolt risk, but that could be remedied by increasing autonomy. We got army maintenance low and all fortifications mothballed and our fleet mothballed. And we'll focus on repaying these loans and getting these cores completed. It's 1466. We haven't been doing this for long. Only 22 years. So we're not doing too bad. Gone from a one province minor island nation to a kingdom with many provinces throughout the Eastern Mediterranean. So you can see here what I'm doing as the final phase of this strategy is I'm just looking for additional allies. We're already allied with Venice and Genoa, and those are extremely strong alliances, especially in terms of the fleet sizes they can offer up. That's going to help us defend against the Ottomans should it come to that. Don't want to execute this strategy with no allies. And we'll probably change our national focus as soon as possible. Incidentally, since we're making money now, we might want to hire some advisors. So Aragon's being beaten up by some sort of coalition, it seems. Yeah, Castile, Morocco. Or Castile and Portugal. So, because their total army size has been decimated from the war and their fleet size has dramatically fallen, we'll look to ally them later on. We'll go ahead and do that now. Here's a pretty nice event, free mercantilism. So now we're allied with Aragon, Venice and Genoa. That's a pretty strong alliance. I deliberately selected those nations because, number one, I knew I could form alliances with them. Number two, although they don't border the Ottomans, they have very strong fleets. And that'll protect us from the Ottoman fleet, which is incidentally also very strong. I've transported the remainder of my army back to Rhodes. I'm just disbanding a few of my transport ships since I'm no longer going to need them. I'll help boost our economy a little bit. Yeah, so probably a good idea to hire some additional advisors now. Here's another event. Let's just speed up time here. See, the Ottomans are just running rampant in the Levant. They are doing fairly well, and unfortunately we do have a land border with them in Greece. At least we've got some strong allies. But they're going to be shockingly powerful after defeating the Mamelukes. "42,000 troops in total they seem to have. Quite a lot of troops. So that Cyprus chord, and we're just speeding up time, trying to get all these provinces chord. We increased autonomy, but it's not enough. There's still high revolt risk, so what we will do is we'll keep an eye on that rebel faction bar, and as soon as it gets to 90%, we'll use harsh treatment, and we'll make sure not to lose sight of that 80%, because if it gets to 100% accidentally, we're going to have to deal with a lot of rebels. And we don't particularly want to do that. Good, we repaid all our loans. It's always a good thing at the end of one of these guides if we have no loans. Tired of producing guides where I have like 9 or 10 loans at the end of them. It's certainly true in my Byzantine guide and also my Albania start guide, which be sure to check them out. Also, something I forgot to do straight away, might as well assign estates to these. Now, assigning these estates as clergy will both boost our loyalty with the clergy over 60%. It's at 53% now, so we'll do that with 2 provinces. Also has the added effect of reducing the national revolt risk in those 2 provinces by -2. That'll help deal with the rebel factions. So now we have loyalty over 60% with every single estate, which is terrific, which is exactly what we want. Gives us all the great modifiers. You can see that they're mostly into the 70s with low influence. Just perfect. Zero war exhaustion, stability 2. Things are looking fairly good and we're making money. Sadly, the last part of this guide seems to be the least eventful. All we're basically doing is waiting for these bars to fill up. But I can't really end the video here, even though I want to, until we've genuinely formed the Kingdom of Jerusalem. That's what I said I was going to do, so that's what we're going to do. For the most part, the guide has ended, though you've got a pretty clear idea of what we're doing now. We've got our alliances set up. We're in a very strong position militarily. Just waiting on these 2 provinces to core. That will establish a bridge to Jerusalem, which we can then core. That's going to take 3 years, unfortunately, so it looks like we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Also, now we're accepting Greek as our, Syrian as our culture in addition to Greek. So all of our provinces are accepted culture: Cyprus, Achaia, Moria, Rhodes, Gaza and Judea and Jerusalem, or Gaza, Jerusalem, and Nablus. We're doing all right. Also, having Syrian as our accepted culture, that is going to lower the revolt risk yet again for those provinces, but we're still keeping an eye on that rebel faction indicator. If it gets to 90%, I will use military power to lower that. Show it 951 monarch points anyway. We're just speeding along. Always on the watch for any additional allies. We have 3 alliances so far, but if we get a 4th, that would be terrific. But we probably have enough. Yeah, so it's got to 90%, and I use harsh treatment. Bring that total rebel faction revolt risk down to 60%. Don't want to have to deal with any rebels. Influential preacher. We'll go ahead and take papal influence again. Yes, or prestige. Papal influence it is. So let's really start to speed up now. We'll put ourselves up to 5x speed. You can see Genoa, our allies, actually running rampant in Crimea. That's always good. That puts them in close proximity with the Ottomans, which allows them to rival the Ottomans in the Black Sea. Forgery of documents again. Go ahead, take the 50 administrative power. Set our national focus into administrative, because I've already decided my next idea group is probably going to be humanist. Wish we could ally France or Castile, but sadly no. The Ottomans have finished vanquishing the Mamelukes, and they have sadly established another land border with us in Sidon, or Sidon I believe it is. Can't quite recall how to pronounce it properly, but there you go. So that's 2 potential land borders with the Ottomans. Smart thing to do probably is get our army force limit up to the total at least. That will maybe deter them from attacking. I'm pretty confident the Ottomans won't attack us. In fact, I know they won't, because they've finished the war. They're probably still in the process of coring. They hate to declare war whilst they've got high overextension. We've got a reasonably sized army, plenty of fortifications, high development power, and we've got alliances with Genoa, Aragon, and indeed Venice. Yeah, not much to do except speed up time, and hopefully we'll be able to end this video within the 1 hour mark like I intended. That's that revolt risk again, harsh treatment, go ahead and do that. Family secret will go ahead and take the strength of air claim penalty. And since our air is terrific, we'll go ahead and assign our king as a military leader. That'll double the chances that he dies at the end of every month. Hopefully we can get rid of him sooner rather than later. We are still a theocracy, but that's bound to change soon. Not sold on theocracies. They're not my favourite. Not my favourite government type. Not the worst though either. Finally decided to do something I probably should have done a long time ago, which is max out our advisor slots. We're making enough money. I go for national tax modifier and trade efficiency to boost our income. And naval research long. Our mission still improve prestige. Not much chance of us achieving that, given how hard it is to accrue prestige. So we'll go ahead and cancel that mission. And we're coming up to 100% core construction in Jerusalem. Re-establish a Kingdom of Jerusalem. Let's go ahead and do it. Gain 25 prestige. Country changes to Jerusalem. New traditions and ambitions. Our state is going through a range of changes, is rapidly changing identity and ideals. Yes, please. I think we will take that, considering the fact that the Kingdom of Jerusalem ideas are phenomenal. Let's take a look at those. 2% missionary strength. National manpower modifier, 25%. Extra prestige, always helpful. Papal influence, 5% discipline. Extra missionary, +1 land leader shock, which is phenomenal. 25% increased fort defense. And +2 diplomatic reputation. Can't really go wrong with those. That's how you do it, folks. This has been my Knights of Spittler to Kingdom of Jerusalem guide. It's been just outside an hour, but we've done it. We've set ourselves up in a strong position. Pretty much determined to go ahead and play through with this game. The only question is whether or not I should upload it. I'll do that depending on the demand. It would be a heck of a lot of fun playing this to its conclusion. But that's how we do it. That's a step-by-step guide to form the Kingdom of Jerusalem. I apologise it's longer than my other videos, but it's as short as I could make it. As always, I'm Oscar Mike. Hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out my other guides. Thanks for watching.